Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you once again for joining me. I do appreciate you. So, you ever wonder where your parents or your grandparents are getting all these nutty, psychopathic, conservative, right-wing, fear-mongering ideas from? Well, if you said Tucker Carlson or Fox News, you would be right. That's pretty much mostly where they get all of their garbage from. But did you know that there are other places that they can attain all of the psycho craziness that you could ever imagine? And some of those places are extremely inconspicuous unless you read into them. So I work for the federal government. Won't say where. I can, but working for the federal government as a nurse, you have a tendency to walk around a little bit and find things like magazines, sitting in your lobbies or whatever, that all the old white conservative people in your lobby or your hospital, clinic, whatever, are reading, and you're like, hey, I wonder who brought these in, or what are they reading? So you walk through and you find things like this. Now, if you notice, it is specifically tripping balls off of critical race theory. And also, they're trying to convince you that America is not racist. And right under that, they need you to make sure that you vote for the 2020 midterms. Now, how do they want your grandma and grandpa to vote? Well, they want them to vote conservative. And how do they do that? By fear-mongering them. They make sure they put out all the fear that they possibly can them to ensure that they vote for conservatives. Because, mom, dad, grandpa, they lived in a different time. When it was okay to call me the N-word on a daily basis, or when the only thing my mother could do is clean their fucking house and couldn't get a job doing anything else. The good old days, the making America great again, like Reagan. So, this is the fear-mongering. AMAC. I don't know if you've ever heard of AMAC. AMAC has been around for about 50 years, I think. No, 2006 is when AMAC came along. And they are consider themselves the alternative to AARP. Because AMAC has an issue with AARP, and that is that they feel that AARP is a liberal organization. Well, AARP, they do things like teach your grandparents and your parents how to invest, how to find cheaper medications, how to get better insurances, how to properly use insurance, how to get the right insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, things like that, to help them, Medicare, Medicaid, to help them live longer and have better lives. AMAC, on the other hand, does the exact opposite. They don't offer anything to your grandparents or parents who are retired or retiring, except the fear-mongering. The entire magazine has nothing to do. So this is supposed to be for American, mature Americans, right? That's what it says. But here's the things that they do. This is exploring personal biases with Lincoln. Because, this is not a racist country because Lincoln freed the slaves. Lincoln hated black people. He didn't care about freeing the slaves. It was a money thing. So you flip through and you think like, oh yeah, they're going to teach me how to invest. No, they just want you to buy Amex life insurance. They want you to listen to their MAGA podcasts with the CEO, Rebecca Weber. They want you to get more insurance. They want to tell you how bad President Biden is because his economic policies. They want to tell you how he's doing all these horrible things to take all your businesses away. They want to try to remind you or let you think that America is not racist, but it surely is, because if it wasn't racist, they wouldn't have to put an ad in their magazine about racism. But so far, there's absolutely nothing in this book that I've seen. How to keep politics out of the military. Basically what it means is like, they don't like the term woke, and they don't like the fact that sailors, soldiers, Marines, airmen, Space Force, whoever the fuck, can actually think for themselves. They just want you to do what you're told and not think. That's what this magazine is all about. It has nothing to do with keeping your grandma and grandpa from being broke. But what they will see, when I was just talking about woke, I didn't even know that was there. The woke dictionary, what all their words mean, those liberal words mean, because those damn liberals, fuck them, right? Critical race theory. They're terrified of their grandchildren or their children understanding how fucking racist America is. So they have to remind you. If someone has to keep telling you how non-racist something is, it's probably because it's really fucking racist. They know it, and they just are embarrassed by it. They are terrified of people knowing the truth about what type of pieces of shit they are. They don't care. They need to get rid of things. Oh, they've even got a countdown list of things they need to get rid of. Oh, first they got to tell you that America is about individualism, and CRT is just bringing the country down. It's going to burn us all to the ground. Equal opportunity. We don't need equal opportunity. We don't have what's equality? We don't need that. We've had equality for as long as this country's been around. Why do we need that? But these are the things that they're telling your grandparents, your mom, your dad, all of this stuff. They're bitching about supplies missing. Like here, they're talking about toilet paper missing. But it was those motherfuckers who snatched up all the toilet paper when the coronavirus hit. But they have yet to say anything. I haven't seen anything in this magazine after looking through it and looking through it. I found absolutely nothing that helps your grandparents do anything other than hate. That's it. The whole magazine for AMAC and the whole 501c, because they have a church too, so they're a 501c nonprofit organization, which means they don't pay taxes, but people pay to have subscriptions to their magazines and to be part of AMAC, so they get that money plus whatever money they get from church, and they get to keep it all for themselves and offer you nothing. They just sell a bunch of survival foods and I fell down and can't get up type of panic buttons. That's it. There's nothing in here that says we're going to help you live longer, healthier, wiser, and invest your money. AARP does that. AMAC doesn't. You feel free to go to their website and see what they're talking about. If your hair doesn't turn white after the first 15 minutes, you probably just don't know how to read. But inside these magazines, to digress a little bit, inside these magazines, I find things clipped to and stapled to the inside of them from right-wing, sometimes even terrorist organizations or militia groups. But there's the Liberty Council. Now, remember these guys, because they're dangerous. Liberty Council, they are the biggest liars on the planet. Because apparently, there were some people in the Pulse nightclub. One of these gentlemen who supposedly was in the Pulse nightclub and had gotten shot, who supposedly went to Congress and the Senate and had conversations with senators, key U.S. senators, about getting rid of the Equality Act because they don't want LGBTQ people to have equality. So they're propping up someone who's supposedly LGBTQ, stating that they think that the Equality Act is bullshit and we shouldn't have it. Because why would we want equality and rights and people to have the same rights as regular, normal, cis white, cis male, and cis female white people have, when we can continue to deny you the rights that you should be guaranteed according to the Constitution of the United States? But they are so terrified and they don't know how to do anything but fearmonger, so they put this type of shit out and give it to your grandparents and mom and dad by sticking it in this magazine and stapling to it. But hey, there's more. There's a Jeff White. So you should probably look up Jeff White. He's part of the survivors of the abortion. He's a founder of the survivors of the abortion Holocaust. Now, he likes to write these little ditties here, to terrify the shit out of your grandparents and your mom and dad, to tell them that, here, I'll just read you the letter, and I'll let you see what you feel about it. So it says, Dear friend, I'm shocked by the news that has come to my attention in the last few days. In the midst of this nationwide coronavirus crisis, the abortion industry reaches new levels of horror. What's the abortion industry? Because I've never heard of it. Okay, let's continue. Medical researchers have been ramping up pressure to use humanized mice for coronavirus research. What the fuck is a humanized mice or mouse? I've never heard of that. I mean, maybe they know something we don't know. Let's check the science. Let's keep going. They are literally murdering unborn babies. Remember the unborn babies part. Unborn babies to harvest, it's a fetus, to harvest in vivo tissue and organs needed to create those mice. And as you will read in the enclosed letter, this has been going on for years despite federal restrictions to put an end to it. So what are these humanized mice again? Where they're taking tissue from unborn fetuses to make humanized mice. Instead of just taking regular mice and doing experimentation on them or testing, they need to take an unborn fetus, take its tissues, to then make and create a mouse out of nothing. Are we mixing human mouse DNA so that we can come up with... Don't think about it. This is far worse than anything concocted by Planned Parenthood. Boy, I wonder who they're trying to get rid of. They've been doing a pretty good job so far. Medical laboratories in our country's largest universities have been secretly or quietly conducting live baby abortions, specifically to harvest pristine tissue, human pristine tissues. So, first off, we kind of need to back up a bit, because the second paragraph of this says that it's unborn babies. Unborn babies. The third paragraph says secretly or quietly conducting live baby abortions. Just because he probably doesn't know that a live baby being killed, it's called murder. Completely different from harvesting from a fetus. So I don't know if he's conflating two things, trying to mix two things, or just being very smart about confusing the living shit out of your parents and grandparents to make them think that babies are being murdered or ripped out of people's wombs just so they can experiment on tissue from human mice for the coronavirus, because it's all a giant abortion conspiracy. That's how the coronavirus came about, so that we could, make human mice out of baby tissue so that we can experiment on them to make the corona vaccine, which is made from human baby mice tissue. Don't think about it. But anyway, yeah, and the rest of it, please take a moment to send me money, basically. So this is why your grandparents and your parents are fucking nut jobs, because they think that these conservatives give a shit about them when they don't. They're just using them to make money, and also so that they can make sure that they know who's going to vote for them in every election, because they don't have policies that are worth a shit. They have nothing. Only thing they have is the cancel culture, the fear mongering, anything that'll make your grandparents and parents hate people of color, hate anyone that doesn't speak English or comes from somewhere else, doesn't believe the way that they do. It's just turning your grandparents and parents into hateful fucking bigots. And if you actually give a shit, and so many of you say that you're not racist, which you're full of shit, that you're not racist, and don't do shit about the racism that you see going on every single day. If you don't want your grandparents and parents to be racist pieces of shit, and you want to prove that you're not a racist piece of shit, you should probably sit down and talk to them and stop them from reading shit like this and believing shit like this, and start espousing truth, facts, logic, and reason to your parents and grandparents, and get out there and do things like support Black Lives Matter if you're not a racist. Do things like, support the LGBTQ community, support trans rights, support women's rights, since you are, for freedoms, right? So you do that to help your parents and grandparents, and also to help yourself, and to make this country actually great, like it should have been from the very beginning, but hasn't been. So we still have a long way to go, because the hate is real. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this has just been my short little ditty for the night. Have a great evening. Please be safe out there, and do not forget, by all means, please be the best heathens that you can be, and have a great evening.